and welcome to TechTalk, a technology podcast focused on all things fulfillment. TechTalk brings experts from different fields to discuss and tackle problems shippers face to offer technological solutions to simplify the fulfillment process. I am your host, Maria Mileshevich, Director of Sales and Marketing at Techdinamics Integration. There's a lot of talk about supply chain efficiencies, particularly concerning optimizing delivery strategies and improving the bottom line. As a distribution center or 3PL, it is critical to lean on the correct technology stack to reduce shipping costs, gain a competitive edge, and provide more value to customers. In today's episode, we are joined by Brian Potvin, Vice President of GTA GSM, Steve Langhart, Executive Vice President of ClearJet, and Reg Adams, President of Techdinamics. This panel of experts will share insights into how global industry leaders use cutting-edge technology and services to optimize delivery strategies and improve their bottom line. We will deep dive into the evolution of zone skipping and discuss how to use AirSkip to compete with Amazon's delivery speed nationwide. The best part, our panel will demonstrate how 3PLs and distributors today can leverage this technology. Welcome to our panel, and thank you for joining me today.
Hey guys, Steve Langhart, Executive Vice President of ClearJet. Great to be here.
Good day, everybody. Brian here from GTA GSM. Pleasure to be on board for today and look forward to a great chat.
Hello, everyone. I'm Reg Adams, President of Techdinamics and co-founder, and happy to be with the three of you today.
Awesome, guys. Thanks. We're excited. So before we start, maybe I'll have you guys introduce yourselves. Talk to me about your respective companies and your roles. Steve, let's start with you. Please tell us a little bit more about ClearJet and what you do.
Thanks, Maria. As the Executive Vice President at ClearJet, I oversee the operational implementation, our business strategies, and our compliance and operational execution. ClearJet is an alternative middle mile carrier. We've engineered a national zone skip infrastructure, and we utilize airline capacity here in the U.S. to fly and drop your packages off with your final mile carrier sortation centers. We bring it closer than you could have ever imagined. And this makes every package a Zone 2 shipment. We call it hyperlocal. Maria?
Oh, thanks, Steve. Brian, you're next. Please tell us about GTA GSM and what you do.
Thank you, Maria. So GTA GSM is part of the GTA group of companies, and we've been able to leverage a Canada-wide presence with different facilities across the country, and have evolved also into the US now by utilizing our infrastructure to use belly capacity in the airlines to connect cargo, do that zone skip for our clients. We also use it by road for our LTL partners. And as Steve said, we can induct to a local zone for that optimal zone skip. So that's what the group does as a whole. And as the Vice President of GTA GSM, I oversee the operations, but also the sales side of our organization.
Exciting. Thanks, Brian. Reg, can you tell us a little bit more about Techdinamics and what you do?
Sure, Maria. So Techdinamics is a global technology company. We're located in Europe, South America, Southeast Asia, and of course, North America, US and Canada being our largest presence. We concentrate really on three parts of fulfillment. So our goal is to help the fulfillment centers get a lot smarter and a lot faster in what they do. Mainly in the first part, order entry, our integrated order process, or our tech OMS, helps the fulfillment center receive orders regardless of the order source, populate them into their ERP or WMS. We're totally embedded with them. And then we call it the perfect order. We want the distribution center only to get the best order that they can fulfill and ship today. That's one. Two, on the back end, we have a product called TechShip, and it's probably the leading one of the leading TMS small parcel shipping modules going globally right now with order management rules and advanced rate shopping. TechShip will help the fulfillment center select the appropriate and fastest way to ship the product without the operators having to think about it. And then lastly, our consulting group, Techdinamics Fulfillment Services, will help the fulfillment center look at their processes, all their touch points, and help them streamline those processes as well. So my role in the company is to try to do as little as possible. No, I'm just kidding. We're We're here to help grow the business development worldwide and bring us support. We call it chasing the sun. Right now, we're working on supporting our customers globally 24/7 and build a new business model across the planet.
Perfect. Thank you. We're in good company today. So I think to start, it would be great to define zone skipping and maybe explain how that all works. So Brian, maybe that's something you can walk us through.
Absolutely, Maria. So thank you for that. So zone skipping has a couple of different ways it can be accomplished. And the main one is simply its simplest form, which is consolidating packages from, the East Coast and delivering them to a localized carrier or a national on the West Coast without utilizing that national carrier's delivery network from coast to coast. So essentially, if we can consolidate 5 or 6 different shippers, we can move their volume consolidation to a central point in the West Coast, and we can deliver it at a cheap and faster final mile cost. And we can utilize these expedited ways to move the volume from the east to the west. So we can do that via our expedited trucks, or we can do it via air. But by utilizing multiple final mile carriers and utilizing one single method to move the parcels together, we typically see a lot of cost savings for our customers.
Cool. Thank you. Steve, can you define and explain air skipping for those of us who don't know?
Yeah, air zone skipping resides really in the middle mile segment of the parcel consolidation strategy. And this is where ClearJet flies the customer's parcels airport to airport, and then we inject them into the local destination with your final mile carrier. More specifically, we collect parcels at the 3PL's fulfillment warehouse. We scan, sort, and then set up the parcels based on the airport of destination. In this consolidation process, it's really important for us to make sure we have the right size bag or box as a shipping container prior to giving it to the airlines. And ClearJet partners with the U.S. commercial airlines that together have a combined fleet of over 4,000 aircraft and 12,000 flights a day that carry cargo in the belly of the passenger airplanes. So this really equates to a robust air skip network. Maria?
Super. Reg, perhaps you can help us bring it all together. How does this all fit? How does zone skip and air skip fit with each other?
That's $1 million question, isn't it? Brian and Steve did a great job in explaining the zone skip, air skip. I think more importantly, when we talk about bringing zone skipping and air skipping together, we're talking about final mile transportation as a whole. And how do we bring it together with all the other current options today, the national carriers, the regional carriers, the same day carriers, because it's only, again, a piece of the puzzle that needs to be taken a look at. And there isn't one process that is good for 100% of the freight today. And shippers today have the problem of trying to decide what to use and what not to use, or what carrier to use and what carrier not to use. And so the zone skip and the air skip has become one of the leading things folks are starting to look at now. Everyone's used to giving it to a national LTL carrier or a national small parcel carrier. You have to have the systems capability to be able to now compare that against what are my other options, like a ClearJet and a GSM as an example. That allows them to now take a normal shipment, compare it against a different middle mile approach with a different final mile approach, and bring that all together. So air skip and zone skip are key. They're not to be used, they wouldn't be used all the time necessarily, because you always have outlying areas that don't fit into the puzzle. But it's a key part of being used in today's freight, and more people are adapting it very quickly right now.
Okay, thank you, Reg. Let's dive into the importance and benefits of zone skipping and air skipping. To start, Steve, what is the importance of optimizing delivery strategies in the current competitive landscape?
Well, Maria and guys, I mean, this is a super hot topic, and really I'd like to give a parcel market perspective. because this really relates to optimizing the delivery strategies. There's plenty of noise, particularly here in the US, on the e-parcel companies who are the larger integrators who over the past 3 years have enforced regular pricing increases, peak season surcharges, they're throttling volumes. And, surprisingly, they're moving customers outside of their networks that no longer fit in their business model. And one integrator said goodbye to customers and we wish you well. And well, at ClearJet, we say welcome aboard. So we clearly have a shift in the parcel shipping marketplace. Today, 3PLs and their customers are embracing many new alternatives to ship. And ClearJet is at the ideal altitude to partner with you.
Got it. Can you highlight some of the benefits of the strategies you just mentioned?
Yeah, when you sit down with each one of the 3PLs, because they all bring a variable set of goals to achieve based on their parcel characteristics, different DIMs and weights, destinations. Our benefit will be to provide the optimal parcel shipping solution. For example, airline cargo partners typically offer 3 service levels and pricing options. The first is guaranteed or a confirmed booking. The second is expedited, a slight deferred to the next day. And then the third is general or a more deferred option that arrives in 2 days. And while a higher percentage of the parcels are routed next flight out or guaranteed, certainly the deferred options offer some really good value, particularly for reverse logistics. So it's really important to match up the appropriate strategy with the customer's characteristics.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I can hear the music, Steve. Brian, is there anything you want to add to this?
Thank you, Maria. So yeah, you know what, the one thing that is kind of the motto here today is that we're really looking to give some extra benefits to the market that might be utilizing the nationals or using carriers that they assume might be giving them the best rate discounts. But at the end of the day, we're here to tell the 3PLs and the retail market that there are other options. There are ways to get your product there faster and cheaper. There are benefits to looking at more regional players. And if you don't have that zone skip, air skip connection, you won't be able to access those different carrier bases that really are focused in those areas and as part of the country. And that's where we've been able to add a lot of benefits. So really is looking at, us as a partner to the 3PL market where we can guide and assist on how to best ship your product, where you can, focus on the sales and optimizing, your customer base.
Fantastic. I think that's a great natural segue to where I want to sort of shift our focus. And that's really looking through the lens of a fulfillment center or distributor. Reg, I'd love it if maybe you could help set the stage and outline maybe some of the biggest pain points you've seen as it relates to delivery strategies in the 3PL market.
So, obviously we all know 3PLs have been the fastest growing market in the fulfillment side in the last couple of years, especially when COVID hit. And obviously that came with a little bit of pain at the same time. They have take a typical 3PL, they may have 100 different customers in their building. And each one of those customers may have 10 or 15 different order sources. One may be Amazon, one may be their own shopping cart, one may be dealers, distributors, Walmart Marketplace, Costco Online. And so the 3PL has to deal with all those different types of demands and requirements from those 100 different customers. And then they have to figure out how to get it. It's one thing to get it picked, but how to get it shipped the most economically or simplest and cleanest way from that standpoint. And so they have a lot of work to do, and labor has become, number one cost in the building is labor, obviously. And the number one cost in the supply chain is the final mile shipping process. That process is representing 46% of the supply chain costs now for an e-commerce shipment. And so the 3PL is being charged by those customers, one of those different 100 customers that they have in their building, to come up with the most economical way to get those orders picked, packed, shipped, and delivered to the consumer with a visibility that the consumer can see what's going on. So they have a tough nut to crack, and the bar has been raised. And so now they have to start looking at these different tools that are made available to them and different pieces of software that are made available to them. You know, I like to use a perfect example where GSM a year ago took one customer and said, "Hey, we're not going to take away the national carrier. We're not going to take away your current freight program. We're only going to enhance it by adding zone skip and air skip to it." And so they, in the final quarter of the prior year, saved that customer almost $500,000 in freight costs because they were able to team shipments already labeled for final mile delivery out to places like Winnipeg, Calgary, Vancouver, Halifax, etc., or put shipments in the air and hit Vancouver and then put them out for delivery. So that savings over the national carrier pricing that comparison was taken a look at within the warehouse system, and boom, a different label was created for that process. So yeah, Maria, they have their hands full right now, and the pressure from those customers is coming down on them very hard to come up with better solutions to compete against, the competitors out there.
Well, let's add to the pressure and talk about the elephant in the room. So how does zone and air skipping help businesses compete with Amazon's delivery speed and efficiency?
Yeah, that's a good one. Let's face it. Amazon did raise the bar on everybody, and they did a good job. You can't criticize them where success was made. I mean, they took shipping from 5 to 7 days to 3 to 4 days to 48 hours to next day, and now even in some cases same day. And they gave the customer the visibility to be able to see where their orders were at any given time. So they are the bar. They are the level that you have to hit from that at this point. But now everyone else is catching up. And when I mentioned earlier that 3PLs are the fastest growing part of the industry, they are, because other manufacturers are now saying, I can't do this on my own. I'm going to get together with the 3PL and I'm going to grab the volume. I may ship 5,000 shipments out a week, but the 3PL may be shipping out 250,000 orders in a week from that standpoint, right? So they can take advantage of collectively putting pieces of freight together, using zone skipping, using air skipping, all those different customers going to those different hubs. And now it's a win-win all the way across the board. So they're now able to grab those orders, have team deliveries or air skip deliveries, and pick today, fly tonight, and put it out for delivery across the country tomorrow. So it's really starting to come together, but you got to be able to take a look at the whole holistic picture.
Yeah, no doubt. Steve, I'm going to talk to you a little bit here. How do you work with 3PL specifically, and how is air zone skipping accomplished with ClearJet?
Yeah, and I think, Reg, you make some really good points there. I think the Amazon standard of all the way down to day of delivery has really changed the milestones, if you will, and the customer expectations. So, for us to work with 3PLs, we really have to sit down and understand what their customer commitments are, what have been their past experiences, and then talk about, what are our vast network options and operational consistency can do to match up with that. And then you lay in our state-of-the-art technology stack that we're working with Techdinamics to build. And so in those initial customer commitment discussions, you really have to listen to their own unique view and parcel pain points. It's really essential to walk away in initial conversations and gain an agreement on a set of expectations and actions to take. There's no one solution that fits all, and oftentimes with customers, there might be several. And so for ClearJet, we lay out our vast network, and this starts out with our initial sortation centers that are all strategically located in high-density e-commerce business centers. These are near airports in Los Angeles, Salt Lake, Austin, Dallas, Chicago, Indy, Annapolis, and Newark. And then you talk about complementing that with your air operational strategy. We have access to every U.S. Commercial flight that carries cargo. Our relationships with these airline partners is really an ideal match for the 3PLs for air zone skipping. And the ClearJet team offers over 80 years of experience at six different airlines. So when you think about that, we've worked in every capacity to support cargo, and then you lay in our founder, Chris Guggenheim's deep e-commerce and technology integration experience, we feel we know what it takes to execute. But it is, again, very important to discuss the commitments the customers need to make. And closing that out, you really need the technology stack so you can integrate their APIs and you can give full tracking and visibility. And there's a lot of fun going on in that as well. And I'm welcome to have anybody connect with me after for more insights.
Cool. And Steve, one more question for you. So what would you say are the strategic benefits 3PLs would achieve with working with ClearJet?
Well, a motto that we live near and dear to, and one of our core values, is just find a way to say yes. You can't go in expecting that you have the answers. You can't go in expecting that the customer has the answers as well. And you're really combining forces and trying to make sure that you know what's happening in their business. And that also that for us, we really have no forced carrier or volume tiers, which is traditional in the integrator space. We have no additional integrations to shipping with ClearJet, and probably most importantly, we have no surcharges. So our strategy is really to sit down and once we understand the customer, to turn back a pricing proposal in 3 to 5 business days. So we all know speed is critical, not only into package delivering, but also in providing business solutions. And I think another key thing that's important here is things do not go as planned in shipping all time. So we like to strategically leverage our benefit with our vast airline experience. And we let our customers know we have a good understanding that's very deep on how airlines move cargo, airports operate, certainly weather impacts the national airspace system. So we have an operations control center with an exception playbook, because you can't waste time and resources when you have an exception, or that quickly turns into a crisis.
Good. Brian, let's bring it full circle. How is zone and air skipping accomplished with GTA GSM, and how do you work with 3PLs?
Good question. So I guess the basis of our business has always been to find the solutions for our shippers, for our 3PL partners that are actively looking to fulfill their orders for their customer base, which, as Reg touched on, can have many different order management rules when it comes to delivering these parcels. So anything from oversight to dangerous goods to signature required for high value to picture PODs and so on. These are all things that we took to heart, and when we built out our platform, which is based on the Techdinamics TMS system, is that we were able to offer our customers the ability to take all these order management rules that they have when they're billing out their orders, and we translate it to the carrier bases that fit those models. So essentially, by taking it and saying they're looking for a cost-effective solution to go across the country, and they're looking for certain rules on deliveries, it now pairs it up into a single label, and therefore that client now can rest assured that they have all the solutions necessary under that one label, one tracking site, and they're able to get the benefit of all these regional players in those markets. We utilize the same thing on the air side, and therefore when we pick up at a local 3PL, we can sort their volume. We induct for local next day volume or same day, and then based on their order management rules, if it's going out to a different part of the country, it'll either go via air or by truck to expedite their volume to their customer base.
Okay. Let's chat about sorting to a carrier. It's cumbersome. So how does GTA GSM help?
Well, the benefit that we offer to the client base is that because we are the carrier, we are the label, you get the benefit of multiple final mile carriers under our single label. So therefore, you only have one single sort. That includes everything that's domestic. It also includes anything that's transborder. So we work heavily with different companies that are inducting for Section 321 into the US, and they're also giving us their domestic business. Therefore, anything and everything is picked up in one one pickup, and it's also invoiced as a single invoice. Therefore, you're not managing multiple carrier bills, you're not dealing with surcharges, you're not dealing with peak surcharges, you're not dealing with fuel, you're dealing with everything under one label. As the API call hits us, we return everything back in one cost, and it also means that all you have is one sort, and we handle the rest from there.
Okay, cool. We find that there's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to zone and air skipping. So I'd love to set some of the facts straight. And Brian, I'm going to ask you this question again. Isn't it expensive to ship air, especially with the heavier weights?
It definitely can be. So if you're not familiar with shipping by air, you are paying for the space that you utilize. Therefore, if you overpack something and you're wasting a lot of space, you are going to be paying for that air. Therefore, that's why we take control of the parcels. And obviously, we don't break down your overpack, but if you give us a box, we're going to maximize it. We're charging you only for the space that box is using and not for the air around it, because we have ways in our operation to maximize the capacity that we utilize. We don't charge you for all the excess space around it, but certainly costs have gone up on the roadside as well. And air has become a much more competitive option. And as Steve is doing as well at ClearJet, we utilize a lot of belly capacity. And therefore, by doing so, you're actually getting a cost-effective way to ship by air, as opposed to just utilizing large cargo operators that charge a lot more money. So that's effectively how we save money on the air shipments.
That's impressive. Steve, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think Brian makes a really good point. You have to optimize what the customer's commodities are and their packages when you're overpacking. So we have pretty much every box size that you can fit into a narrow body aircraft. And just like the luggage going up there, you want to make sure the dimensions fit appropriately. You want to get the right weight. And you also want to make sure that you're optimizing your cartage to and from the airport. So the package level data detail that the customer sends us really is the holy grail for us, and it opens up the critical elements of how we're going to optimize for them, we're going to route for them, and we're going to price for them.
Okay. Brian, another misconception and often a question, but don't you lose visibility when air skipping? Is that true?
Again, you probably did in the past. So a lot of people would utilize air skipping or zone skipping, hand it over to an airline or LTL trucking network. And effectively, that customer would have a black or dead zone when they wouldn't see their parcel moving for days at a time. And then you're wondering, where is it and when am I going to get it? So what we've done is, again, taken that to the next step where we scan every parcel at our facility on arrival. Then it gets scanned to its overpack, so ours are bags, and then that translates to the airline or the LTL truck departure messaging, and therefore those parcels are updated through their journey. So effectively, there is no difference now to the national carriers where we have updates throughout the entire journey of the parcel with an estimated delivery date, and therefore that customer has that confidence that they're not just losing visibility to save money. They're actually getting the same amount of visibility, if not greater, because we have all the integrations to all the airlines and trucking companies.
Fantastic. Okay. And I have another question for you, Brian. So we have a lot of 3PL customers who ship dangerous goods. How would you handle dangerous goods and batteries when shipping air?
So another great question. So there's definitely some types of shipments that cannot go with standard air carriers, especially in the bellies of the airlines. So for some of those product types, we will have to book them on freighter type networks. But the vast majority of consumer commodities, they're allowed onto the bellies of airplanes. And the best way to do this is to be prepared up front. It is more work, but we have a very dedicated team of dangerous good experts in-house. Everyone here is Cat 6 trained. And what happens is that we're able to, on your WMS side, is actually help you set up all your SKU lists that have dangerous goods as a component, and we can actually flag them at the time of shipping. So, such as the Techdinamics system can do, we can actually get the label printed, our label, and secondary label would be the dangerous good labeling. Therefore, it all expedites the process. But failing to do that, if we're just new to the relationship and we don't have the integrations done, we also screen everything in our facilities. Therefore, we actually can segregate those and label them ourselves as dangerous good shippers.
Super cool. Are there any other misconceptions that you guys are sometimes, or you're running into, that you guys want to address on here as well? And that's just opening it up to the floor.
I would just add that when you sit down with a customer and break down their package level data, and then you're able to show them the key lanes that they can ship to, and then we overlay that with a route map, if you will, of the airlines that fly cargo in there, and they're pretty amazed at how much capacity, frequency, and opportunity is there. So they're two really good visuals that demonstrate to them pretty quickly that using commercial air carriers that carry cargo is an option that many don't think of right away for e-commerce.
I think adding to that too, Maria, is one of, from the outside looking in, is one of the big issues or big fallbacks we hear is one, it's too much work on the floor to be able to sort this stuff and do all these different things. And two, I don't have enough volume to zone skip or air skip. And both those statements are incorrect. Number one is handled via technology. Number two is both these groups have the capability of picking up 30 packages or picking up 3,000 packages. You don't have to have enough to book a truck on your LTL going out west, or your airplane going out west. They can put one package on an airplane going out west from that standpoint, from east to west as an example, because they're matching it up with a bunch of volume from other shippers at the same time. So it's not, you're just not reliant on the individual 3PL or brand or customer to have enough volume to book a pallet of product going out west in the air. So that has kind of been the thought process prior for zone skipping and air skipping. And these guys have broke the mold. They've come up with a way to be able to do it and take even on the small shippers as well as the large.
That's a great point, Reg. And the benefit, sorry, Maria, I was just going to add to what Reg was saying, that the benefit that all the shippers that we deal with have seen is that they're able to take advantage of that space on board the planes and the trucks without having to book up entire capacity by themselves. And they are able to ship smaller volumes at a time. And they're able to take advantage of those regional final mile carriers. So as a whole, they don't have to go and do all this legwork themselves. It's all been brought together under one package and one label. So they tend to see the benefit in those operations.
Super. Thanks, Brian. Now, Reg, you touched on a buzzword, technology. So I'd love to ask you, how can technology be leveraged to access both zone and air skipping and also address some of the pain points we just talked about? I'm referring to high shipping costs in general, shipping dangerous goods, that sort of thing.
Yeah. That's a great comment, Maria. So in today's day and age, and it's kind of what we focus on, is your tech stack, right? And how do you do it? And there's a lot of different pieces of software out there. There's a lot of different things you can do, but it's no longer about just creating a label and shipping something out the door. You have to have the intuitiveness. You have to be able to look on a fluid and dynamic basis to see what the shipment is, size of shipment is, where it's going. And you don't want staffing to have to stop to figure that out. So what we like to do is put in a couple pieces of software, TechShip being one of them, that will allow it to be looking at the orders coming through the distribution center or the 3PL and see what's being shipped, what size, what dimension, what weight, does it contain batteries, does it need signature required? And all those rules and customer requirements get applied in that thought process while they're scanning an order, whether they're scanning one order at a time or they're doing a batch of 5,000 orders at a time. You want to make it seamless with little touch points. And so it's just instantly a print and apply type label processing from that standpoint. So the system has to be able to handle that technology, takes care of the technology and allows the operator just to scan and go, or batch process and go. They don't have to think about how they're shipping it any longer. So the rules get built inside of the technology with advanced type rate shopping reviews or order management type reviews. So your system has to be able to handle that. In the case of the air skip and the zone skip, it takes it one step further. The technology has to reach out, and I'll give you a live example because we just had one. We have a jewelry supplier flying out of Toronto, origin shipping out of Toronto, thinking they had to open up a warehouse in Vancouver to be able to compete with their sales within 48 hours from Vancouver to that area and Toronto from that area. That wasn't the case at all. What the team introduced to them was, okay, here's a way to select your carrier in a 2 to 3 day service. But unfortunately or fortunately, 2 to 3 day service from Toronto to Langley, BC may cost $12, right, from that standpoint. And so does that work? Doesn't it work for the customer? But now you have the ability in the same tech stack to look at alternative shipping, in this case, zone skip or air skip. And so what we did with that customer was it takes a look at that 2-pound shipment being delivered to Langley, BC, and maybe Purolator FedEx wins at $10.75, right, from that standpoint. But then it also takes a look at, say, GSM, GTA GSM, or in the case of New Jersey to California, it'll take a look at the middle mile cost and the cost from ClearJet. And so it compares that cost of middle mile and final mile delivery through that zone skip or air skip source against the national carrier's price. And remember, I said earlier, you don't want to remove the national carriers. They're absolutely a key part of shipping today, in today's world. But you want to be able to compare on the fly those alternatives. And in this case, that 2-pound shipment going to Langley, BC gets picked today, flown tonight, out for delivery tomorrow, and it's using the middle mile air against with the final mile induction, Vancouver out to Langley, BC, and that shipment cost for that particular example came in at $9.80. So it beat the price of the national carrier by almost $2, but it picked today, flew tonight, and went out for delivery tomorrow. It beating the Amazon model at the same time. He did not need the warehouse in Vancouver. He's able to ship for a reasonable price, on time and fast, from his Toronto hub. And so the tech stack has to be able to look at a multiple of different variances in a very fluid and dynamic world so that the people in the warehouse don't have to spend their time trying to figure it out on the fly, because that's labor. Labor is cost, labor is touch point, and we got to get rid of those touch points. So by Steve's team or Brian's team investing into additional technology on their side to be able to give us those answers right up front, and us being able to hit those answers from the 3PL's location or the distributor or the warehouse's location, we're able to bring the tech stack's able to bring it together to make a seamless decision very quickly. And we're actually printing labels within seconds and at that time. So it's really evolved in the last couple of years. But again, it's like you said, we have to have the technology in place to be able to do it. Those manual days are gone.
Okay. Steve, Brian, anything you guys want to add to that?
I would say Reg covered it incredibly well, and that, it points to our having to have these partnerships with Techdinamics to help us build out the tech stack are critically important because of their experience in the business and also with GTA. So we really appreciate what you all are doing for us.
Absolutely. And from our side, we've been able to develop this, and we're moving together with ClearJet as well on the US side, and Techdinamics has been able to bring these pieces together so that our softwares can talk to each other and the customers get just that benefit of the cross-border traffic. But as we've kind of touched on multiple times today, we kind of would implore people to at least look at the idea of getting rid of the notion that you have the best discount with a certain carrier, and also stop putting a carrier to an FSA or a zone just because that's how it's picked. Let the system do the work for you, and give us a call and let us rate a file for you. And I think you'll be impressed that those big rate discounts, they don't necessarily translate to big savings.
Good advice and wise words, guys. Well, thank you very much for sharing your insights into how our 3PL audience can use cutting-edge technology and services to optimize delivery strategies and improve their bottom line. This concludes this edition of Techdinamics' Tech Talk. Please tune in next time for our next episode discussing all things fulfillment. Thank you, Brian, Steve, and Reg. It was excellent to have you on today.
Thanks, Maria.
Bye, guys.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Maria.
Maria. Bye-bye.
Be
Bye,
safe.
all. Thank you.